Sarah and Michelle. This is Spencer, obviously. Um, I'm gonna try to record this by talking and then just emailing it to you guys because I just simply can't write it out or do it voice to text and then edit it because there'll be long pauses and it's just proving difficult. I'm having to close my eyes because there's too much input coming in, and my images are blurring with things that aren't present, or I hate to use the word real because that is kind of out the window at this point. So I'm just going to try to talk about this and then just record it and send it to you, and hopefully that will make sense. Well, my suds is pretty high. I would say 8 or 9. I mean, it's not like actually being in the hospital, but I'm having to hold my beard and close my eyes, and all I can taste is I would just say generally hospital stuff. So saline and Dilaudid and my feeding tube, and I feel very it's small and stuck, and um, this is very stressful. So I'm just trying to give you the exact emotions that I'm feeling now, and those are them. But if I don't just do this, I'm just never gonna do it. So I've gotta dive in the pool, and I'll just do my best. I tried to pick the scariest one, and I just struggled to do so. I hope I'm not trying to get out of doing that, but I've sort of narrowed it down to three, and I guess I'll just pick one in the moment, and try to be spontaneous, and then just whatever comes out comes out. I don't have any way to categorize these. My concept of time as to when they occurred over from approximately June 16th to the last week or so of July is when all this happened, and yeah, so it's again, it's all out the window, and that's all stuff you guys know. So I I have a very clear image of sitting with Amanda in a food court, and a kind of knowledge that we're not together anymore. And I remember feeling that that I wanted to try to fix things, that I wanted her to be with me again, but I knew it wouldn't happen, and that there was nothing I could say to sort of fix our relationship and marriage. I guess maybe I was grappling with what had happened to me, and anyway, but I wasn't sick. Well, I wasn't sick in the physical sense. All the cards were on the table, but I don't remember that part of the conversation. But I remember this meal in the food court of this mall, and it would just sort of be like nondescript, kind of general mall food court. And I remember Amanda taking her ring off and saying, I don't want to ever put this on again. And I just remember sitting there thinking that I wish I could change it, but I was certain that I could not. And I also remember thinking that I didn't want to change it because I didn't think I deserved her anymore. And that I was a really bad person. that I am a really bad person, and that I knew she had met someone else, and she hadn't told me that part yet because she was still trying to trying to spare my feelings. And I just remember how beautiful she looked, and she dyed her hair. It was like a lighter color, brown, and she looked tan, which she's never looked tan. Neither one of us tans is pale, and I just remember thinking, like, for once, she has a tan, and she looks happy, and she looks lighter, and it's because she doesn't not with me anymore. And I remember her taking her ring off, and I remember what the table looked like, and um, I just never said anything, and I just listened, and I could see that that was making her angrier, and I just said whatever. I finally just said whatever's gonna make you happy is what I want, and obviously that's not what I wanted. I wanted her to change her mind. But again, I just was certain that she wouldn't and that she shouldn't. And I sort of knew that our marriage was over. And then um, I remember being alone at the table. And then I, I knew that she was moving to Japan. I don't know how I knew that, but I just knew that she was. And then some amount of time went by, and the next thing I remember, I was on a plane to Japan, and I was still wearing my wedding ring. I remember that very clearly, and I remember sitting on the plane, and um, I I was in 4B. I was in first class to Japan on 4B. That was our room number on our honeymoon. The suite that we had was 4B. And I remember the flight attendant talking to me and saying that I looked really sad, and I just told her I was, and I don't know. I just remember I just remember the feeling of having a conversation with someone where it's that thing of you could sort of connect and tell someone that you didn't know what was going on. Maybe they'd understand and maybe they wouldn't, but there was like a knowledge that she knew it was something that I didn't want to make small talk about. And I just remember the flight taking forever, and it was all like 80s music. It's weird 80s music, like Duran Duran and like the Pet Shop Boys and the Talking Heads, and it's like really like American Psycho. The movie, not Bret Easton Ellis's book, but the movie American Psycho with Christian Bale. And I was wearing a suit, and anyway, then I remembered getting to Japan and going around and seeing her, or I remember going to look for her, and I remember seeing her with this other, I guess, an American guy that she'd moved there with, and he was just like, I can't remember his face, but I just remember thinking that he was really like the opposite of me, and that they looked really happy, and they had a child, and I just remember the joy that I felt for her, that she was happy and that she'd moved on, and And I remember just watching them, and then I was gonna go tell them how happy I was, and then I remember thinking, God, they'll think I'm crazy that I want something. Well, why would I fly all the way around the world just to say I was sorry and that I was happy for them? Um, and I remember, understanding that a bunch of time had passed since what I knew as our marriage, and then what happened in the food court, and I remember going into this restaurant that was really white. Everything was really white, and like uh, it was all single seat tables. They were all circle tables, but only one chair could be at each table. I remember that very distinctly. I remember thinking, how can you create a table that only one person could sit at? I don't even know how that makes sense, but I was painfully aware that they designed a restaurant where people could only eat by themselves. And no one talked. No one said anything. You just went in and ate, and it was like sushi, and it was just surreal. And I remember sitting there, and nothing cost anything, and I was like, well, I remember thinking that this is the weirdest place. Like, I'm so sad, and how does this place exist? And I remember the wait was a waitress. It was like this older woman, and she came by, and I think I remember ordering or something, but something occurred where I had to pay before I got the food, and I didn't understand how I had to pay, and I looked around, and there was this big fish bowl. Well, it was like a wall of fish bowls that went around the whole restaurant, but like it didn't end, like it didn't make a square room or any shape of a room. It just went on. I think I might have told you guys like that Escher painting of the stairs where the person falls, but they just keep falling in a square, and they never reach an end. It was like that, and it was fish in it, like an aquarium, but there were just wedding rings everywhere, just rings of all kinds. And the lady came by, and I realized that in order to get food, I would have to give up my wedding ring. And I remember her smiling at me, and sort of like,